This little guy has been here for me all week. So is Moxie, who is lying down right now. Thank God for our animals, huh? Thank God for these special little souls. This isn't a video I anticipated making. I don't know if I'm going to post it. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. I don't quite know what it is I want to say. I just know that there's a lot on my heart, and I want to express it, and I want to get it out. I feel like I've moved through so many different layers and levels of emotions this week. And it's not about the politics. I want to be clear. It's not about the politics. It's about how we treat each other. That's what gets to me. How we treat each other. How we are treating each other. How we have been treating each other. And when I look at where we are as a collective, and not just our segment of the collective within our spiritual community, but as a whole on this planet, it kind of breaks my heart. I can look at it from the higher perspective and see how this is that next level of great awakening. I've gotten many downloads. I've had many conversations with God this week. Many conversations with God. Yeshua has been with me. Mother Mary. I have just been communing with my guides. Trying to understand. Okay, bye. Trying to understand what it is that I'm feeling and what it is that I'm seeing, and trying to reconcile it all. It's not about the politics. It's not about the policies so much. It's not about that. I want to be clear again. I've been writing essays and posts because I have needed to express myself, because I can't hold it in. I'm not somebody who ever has been able to hold herself in. I keep hearing in my mind, can't stop the signal, from the movie Serenity. Can't stop the signal. Can't box yourself in. Can't hold yourself back. That's just the witch wound reigniting, right? And this past week, I feel like the dark feminine aspect of the divine feminine has been fully activated for me. It's something that I have been leaning into over the past year. The dark feminine, we're going to talk about that in an upcoming channeling. I have a lot of channelings on the docket that is stemming from this. One with Kuan Yin, one with Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, one about the wild feminine that has been on my mind for the past 2 years now. And now it feels like, now that I've gone through my own evolution with it, my own activation with that energy, with that archetype, I feel like I understand it a lot more. The dark feminine is the divine feminine, but the divine feminine isn't just love and light. She isn't just let me dance naked in the moonlight. She isn't just let me work with my crystals and use my tarot cards. The dark feminine, an aspect of the divine feminine, is an feral energy. She is one who will be untamed. She is one who, like Kali Ma, is a compassionate warrior. She is one who stands for justice. She is one who stands for expressing yourself in healthy ways, to be sure, but she is one who will not back down. She is one who stands for her values. She stands for integrity. She stands for justice. She stands for empathy and compassion. Kali Ma has been a guide for me these past 2 years. She came to me in a very trying time, and she showed me how to have healthy boundaries. She showed me how to stand up for myself and stick up for myself, which is something I've been doing my whole life. Something that I've really been learning since I was diagnosed in 2012 with Lyme disease, when I had to trust myself and my intuition over any establishment, over any authority. And that literally saved my life. Kali Ma was there for me. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that until my Ascension journey. But Kali Ma was there for me, guiding me to speak up for myself and save my own life. When all the doctors were telling me no, I was fine. When all the tests they were running were saying no, I was fine. Because I knew my body. I knew myself. And I have trusted myself my entire life. Let my own soul guide me my entire life. I know myself. Which is why this week was so incredibly confusing for me. Because once again, I had to tumble back down those rabbit holes and question myself, and it led to a bit of a crisis of faith. No, I don't want to say it like that. It wasn't a crisis of faith. I feel like my faith was extremely anchored in. But it almost felt like my brain was broken. It felt like I could not understand. Like, was I missing something? Am I not seeing something? And truth be told, maybe that's the case. I am not perfect by any means. I am a human being too. I am completely fallible. I have flaws, and I am flawed. I make mistakes. I do. And I get things wrong. But I also live by my integrity. I live by my values. And I live by my teachings. And I always have. My teachings aren't coming from something outside of myself. My teachings and what I channel are deeper layers of something I have known to be true my whole life. And I feel like my whole life is an indication of that. My whole life is my footprint of that. You can look at all my old blogs, all my old posts, all my interactions with people, with strangers, with friends, with family, my work, my books. You can look at all of it, and it will tell you who I am. And whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter anymore. It used to matter a great deal to me. It doesn't matter anymore because I know who I am and I know what I stand for, and I stand for unity. And I always have. Which is why this week has broken my heart, because I want to believe in this world. Not just this country, but in people, in humanity. And I study history. I read literary fiction. I read historical fiction. I read nonfiction. And I can see with great empathy what people go through. There's this whole thing on Book Talk right now, on TikTok, the book community on TikTok, talking about how books aren't political. And I shared my own thoughts. Books are political. Books are inherently political. Because we are inherently political. I'm not talking about one side or of another. I'm not talking about red versus blue. That's all bullshit. That's all the expression. That's all the outside. I'm talking about what's in here. I'm talking about your values. I'm talking about what you stand for. And I'm talking about who you are at your core as a human being, as a soul. And it feels like there's such a divide. It feels like there's such separation. It feels like we've forgotten that we're all humans. Never mind forgetting that we're all souls, too. Never mind forgetting that we're all part of the whole. Never mind forgetting that we are all part of this planet. As a species, we are so against each other. And I don't know if I will ever understand that. I've talked about this before. I'll talk about it again. When I was a teenager, I read a quote by Thomas Paine, ninth grade. We'll never forget it. He said, "My country is the world and my religion is to do good." And that simple quote, just in that little context, it doesn't matter what the context was around it, I don't even remember. I know it came from Thomas Paine's The Rights of Man. I don't remember the rest of the text. I don't remember the context. But that one quote has always stuck with me. That is what I believe. I grew up with a Jewish best friend. I grew up Catholic and learning all about Christianity. And when I was confirmed, that was when I left the church, after I was confirmed. Because it didn't sit with me. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel right that I felt worse coming out of church than I did going in. And I realized that that wasn't my church at all. That I felt more at peace and more connected to God around nature, in my own backyard, in the woods. I used to talk with angels when I was a kid. That doesn't take a preacher. That doesn't take somebody outside of myself. It never did. And then as I grew up, I learned about Buddhism and Hinduism, and there were aspects of those that spoke with me too. It all speaks true. There is not one thing or another. It's all ways of expressing a universal truth of love and kindness and empathy and oneness and connection to a God source, higher power, mother, father, the universe, whatever it is that you want to call it. Even if you're atheist and call it the nothingness, there is something in the nothing. So when I look at this week, I've always walked the middle path, always. I've always believed in the middle way. I believe that things do need to change. But I don't quite like the way that things are changing. And that's where God came in for me this week and asked me to have faith and asked me to trust the unfolding. But that's also where my brain kind of broke. Because, especially in the community, the spiritual community, it feels like it is the very antithesis of everything that we share and everything that we teach. And I don't understand it. I have gone down that rabbit hole. Back in 2016, 2017 and onwards, I went down that rabbit hole. I went down that rabbit hole of the conspiracy theories. I looked deep into all the policies and all the politics of it. Because back then, I was very into politics. I went down that rabbit hole, and God quickly pulled me out. And back in 2020, I think it was, right before the pandemic, I channeled three really pivotal channelings that I called the Lightworker series. And God said, hold the light, be the light. Hold the light, be the light. Right ahead of the pandemic, that not all is what it seems. So I went down those rabbit holes of conspiracy theories. And God pulled me out because I was meant to understand and have compassion and know what it was all about, but that I was meant to hold my own light, that I was meant to be the light, that I was meant to be a pillar within myself, a calm within the storm of chaos. And I moved through the pandemic, and to be honest, it felt like peaceful. It felt peaceful. It felt calm. And I was able to be that pillar for people around me, for my friends and my family who were incredibly anxious for all of the uncertainty. And I held that faith. I anchored that in. But still, I began to see some rhetoric within the spiritual community, and I didn't understand it. I still don't. Here's what I don't understand. And I'm being purposefully vague because this could go for either side. But I also want to be clear that I stand on the side of humanity. I stand on the side of being for people and not just one person, not just the individual. When you say me and mine, I have a problem with that. Yes, take care of yourself. Yes, make sure that you are taken care of. Make sure that you are supported. But when you're putting yourself over the big picture of other people, I have a huge problem with that. Because it's not just about you and yours. There are real people who are afraid. There are real people who are hurting. There are real people who there can be a lot of damage to. There are real people being affected. And just because it's not affecting you doesn't mean it's not affecting other people. It doesn't mean it's not affecting your friends. It doesn't mean it's not affecting your family. And that's the kind of empathy that it feels like we've moved away from. And I don't understand that either. I don't get it. We have gotten so divisive, and a lot of that divisiveness is because we've become so individualistic, so singular. We've forgotten that one affects the whole, that we're all interconnected, every single one of us. And when one hurts, we all hurt. Truly. At least that's the way it should be. Not advocating for all of us hurting or staying stuck in that misery or staying stuck in pain, not at all. We hold the light for others. We be beacons of hope for others. We stand up and advocate for others. That's part of being part of this unity consciousness, and that's part of being the dark feminine, the divine feminine. Divine feminine isn't just peace and love and light. She is willing to stand up for what it is that she fights for. She is, again, untamed. She is a powerful force of energy. And what's beautiful is I really see that coming to light here. The thing that broke my brain, and I keep trying to come back to because I just don't have the words for it, is that I couldn't understand. I have talked with friends on both sides of the aisle, and friends who are incredible human beings. Some spiritual, some not. Some are voting based on policy, some are voting just based on their heart. And I understand that. I have no problem with that. I understand that. I know their heart. That is why I have compassion for that. That is why I understand it. Because I know their heart and I know their intention. But when I see the greater collective, when I see all these videos on social media of people just creating more and more division, I just don't understand it. Just don't understand it. I don't understand it. And in the spiritual community especially, what I don't understand is propping somebody up as their savior. We talk a lot about New Earth in the spiritual community, and that's essentially what our ascension journey is creating. Our ascension journey is calling back the golden age of Lemuria and Atlantis, and we know that. It's calling back a time of unity. It's calling back a time of love. It's calling back a time of advanced civilizations, and advanced civilization doesn't just mean technology. Advanced civilization doesn't just mean advancements in medical or education or in our manufacturing or ways of doing things. Advanced civilization is about how we're treating each other and how we cooperate and interact and harmonize with each other. It's how we unite. It is that Christ Sophia consciousness. And we call it just the Christ consciousness, but it's both. The Christ Sophia consciousness is the Christ consciousness of the masculine and the Sophia consciousness of the wisdom of the feminine. Both working in harmony. And that's what we do on the Sacred Union Ascension journey, is we know that, we learn that, we understand that deeper levels and layers of that. That's what we teach. We teach the harmonization of the polarities. We teach the unity consciousness. We teach love and compassion and empathy, and most importantly, we teach self-empowerment. We teach what it means to think for yourself and think critically. That is the power of the mind, and that's why we have the mind. We teach the sacredness of the heart and trusting your own intuition above anything else, above anyone else. When I see people that I have highly respected in the spiritual community talking about one person as a savior, one person as ushering in this golden age, I don't get it. Not only because actions have not matched words there, but also because that is taking away your empowerment. That is taking away your own power. You're literally giving that to somebody else. And it's not just one person who is showing up as the leader of a party. It is every other person who is behind that party, every other person behind the scenes of that. Ask yourself, is this actually creating more community? Or is it creating division? Is it actually creating compassion and fostering empathy? Or is it creating more division and hateful rhetoric? We're being taught to look beyond the surface. And this week, I really needed to do that. I really need to do that. And I dove deep. I questioned myself. I said, am I missing something? Am I wrong? And I am humble enough that I can admit freely when I am wrong. It's not about right or wrong. I want to be very clear. But for me, I felt like, am I missing something? And I'm somebody who, through her whole journey, has always looked at herself. Who has always, anytime there was a projection or anytime there was a judgment or anytime something was being shown to me, to look at myself. What is it that I'm missing? What is it to be healed? What is it a belief that I'm still holding that doesn't serve anymore? That's an old program or an old template that maybe doesn't even come from me, that comes from society or that comes from upbringing, but that I took it on for myself. And that's my responsibility. That's where I'm accountable, because I took that on unconsciously, perhaps, but I still took that on. And so that's where I'm responsible for healing that, for clearing that, or for shifting that energy, for shifting that belief, for having a new perspective. And that's where, over the course of my journey, I've been able to see both sides. I've been able to see new perspectives, higher perspectives, and that's what we teach. And everything that we've ever channeled comes from that. So when I say that I have examined myself by trying to understand what is happening, especially within the spiritual community, I mean, I have looked at every single blind spot. Even when I was going through my own healing journey, which I still am, it's still, you're always going to be going through your own personal evolution. I'm still going through my own personal evolution. This week was part of that, activating the dark feminine inside of me. I can recognize that. Being unafraid to speak up and stand up for what I believe. Because I said, you know what? If other people can speak up and go on their platforms and talk about all these things that are divisive and hate-filled and cruel, then I can come on and talk about love. Then I can share my beliefs. Even through my own journey, I have gone to my soul sisters and I've asked them, what am I missing? Show me my blind spots. What am I missing? And these are my soul family, so they're not afraid to tell me. They're not afraid to trigger me. They're not afraid to point things out. And I am so grateful to them for that. I walk my talk. I have lived my life doing that. That's my track record. And I only say that not to prove something to anyone, but to show myself that I can trust myself when I doubted myself. And I have gone through many cycles of self-doubt, many cycles of introspection and reflection, many cycles of connecting back to God and my soul, myself. We are not meant to put all of our faith and power in a single individual. And even if it's not a single individual, in an establishment, especially in the spiritual community, especially talking about New Earth and this golden age that we all want, that we are all working towards and fighting for. We want prosperity. We want abundance. We want peace. We want harmony. But that doesn't come from outside of ourselves. It doesn't come from a single person or a single party or a single establishment. It comes from you. It comes from you doing the inner work, from you cultivating that peace within, from you cultivating that harmony within, so that has a ripple effect to experience harmony with others, to you having compassion and empathy for all the unconscious aspects that might be playing out, including the unconscious aspects that you once were, that might be reflected right now. Your ascension journey helped shift your consciousness so that now you are conscious, now you are aware, and that awareness is your superpower. And what are you going to do with it? Are you going to give that power over to somebody else? Or are you going to cultivate that peace, that harmony within yourself? And I'm not talking peace and harmony as in and just let people walk all over you. There are real rights that we as human beings have that we need to defend and fight for and advocate for. There are real people who are being affected that we need to support and have empathy for and love and care for. There are real issues here in the human world, but you are the bridge. You are the bridge. Every single one of you. Don't give that over to one person. It's not about one person. You're just giving that power away to another matrix by another name. You're getting caught in another consciousness loop. Getting caught in another cycle. It's time you realize it's within you. Within you. Ask yourself the tough questions. And go deeper and deeper and deeper. That's what it's about. Spirituality is love. Spirituality is light. But spirituality is about doing the shadow work. And going real fucking deep within to face all of those shadows and all the unconscious. And when I was really struggling this week, that's what God showed me. God showed me that it has been the shadow that is being shown to us right now. That there is light among the shadow, but it might not be what the spiritual community thinks. The shadow that's being activated, it is showing us where there is light. And that light is coming from people who are standing up to support others, to support their neighbors that they don't even know, their brothers and their sisters, their family, their friends, strangers. That's what true unity consciousness is. To recognize that every single person is part of the whole. Not one single person is exempt from that. Not one single person is exempt from that. That second coming of Christ, it's you. It's not somebody else. It's not somebody outside of yourself. That second coming of Christ is you. That's what he was here to show us. He was here to show us the way. You are the way. He was here to lead by example, and now it's up to you to lead by example. He died to show us that death was an illusion. He died to show us that God lives within you too. That the kingdom of heaven that we are all seeking, or once thought we were seeking outside of ourselves, that we're going to go to heaven after death, that heaven is within you now. You carry that with you. The kingdom is within you. God is within you. Yeshua is within you. It's within the template of the Christ consciousness, not outside of yourself. Never outside of yourself. We're going to have many channelings coming up. I'm going to give myself some time, give myself a little bit of a break. I think I'm going to take the rest of the month off. Maybe not that long, but at least the week. You guys know me. At least the week. I'm going to spend this time for myself. Those of you who signed up for the workshop, we're going to postpone that. But that's an important one too. It's all about mastering spiritual boundaries. And we're going to be channeling 3 different parts of that. Spiritual boundaries as far as energy. Spiritual boundaries as far as holding those boundaries for yourself. And spiritual boundaries as far as honoring other people's paths. And that's something that has been really hard for me too this week. As a very flawed human being too. It's been hard. Sometimes this ascension journey is hard. Sometimes it is not easy to reconcile the human with the spiritual. And we might know things intellectually. We might feel things spiritually. But sometimes it can be hard to hold that light when you're faced with a lot. For lack of a better word, a lot. And so this world is waking up. And this has been part of it. And it is sometimes very hard to see because we wish it was happening faster and we wish it was easier. And for myself, who feels things very, very deeply, we wish it was more painless for the people that we love. But that's where we have to have boundaries for other people too and honor their journey and honor their path. And that's where we have to keep being the light and holding the light and honoring our truth. Honoring what we know and feel within our heart. And trust. We are co-creating with God. Every single moment, every single second. And we're meant to recognize that sense of self-empowerment. That sense of co-creatorship. Power isn't something over somebody. Power is something we hold within us, intrinsically. Power is love. I channeled something that I just want to quickly read. When you're so tuned into others' pain and the energy of the world, it's incredibly hard to carry the weight alone. At least it feels like you're alone. The more we care, the more we want to make sense of it all, the heavier it sometimes feels. But there is nothing broken within you, just a deeply compassionate heart that's responding to a world in need of healing. Hold the light. Be the light. I love you all.